Hello, today I will show you how to configure OAuth credential for Google Task in Procesio. So OAuth is a new feature, a new authentication method available in Procesio that has been released recently. So I understand from the team that this is the V1. So depending on when you're watching this video, have a look at Procesio documentation, because I think they will make the process even simpler in the future. So it is not that complicated to do if you know how to do that. If you don't know, it can be a bit difficult sometimes. So I will show you how to do that. We'll start with enabling the Google Task API inside the Google console. We then create a client ID and secret for this API. We will then go to Procesio to finalize the configuration of the credential, and then we will run a simple test. console.cloud.google.com website, and we start by creating a project there. So I already have one project which is named the custom OAuth client. So if you don't have any existing project, just create a new one by clicking here. So it's pretty straightforward, nothing much to do. So I'll let you do that on your own. Then when you have your project created, you go to the navigation menu, you click on API and services. This is where we're going to enable Google Task API. So we're going to enable API and services by clicking there. And on this page, look for the task. Okay, so the first one, Google Task API. And what you have to do is to enable it. Click on enable. Wait a few seconds. Okay. Okay, so now here what you have to do is to create a credential so we can then access it through the API. So click on credentials and create a credential there. Okay, it will be a OAuth client ID. So here you have to choose what kind of application going to use this API. So you have different choices here. If you work with Procesio, so you click on web application, give a name to it. So let's call it Procesio. Okay, and here you have few things to configure: the authorized JavaScript origin or the authorized redirect URI. So here you don't need this one, the JavaScript origin you don't need, but you need to configure the authorized redirect URI. So to know which URI you need to input there, go to Procesio. So I have one Procesio process open there, and start creating your credential. And in this one, so here you click on credential, create credential, and there, okay, give it name to it. So it's Google Task API, and it will be a REST API. Click on next step, and here you're choosing OAuth. Okay. So don't worry about all this configuration yet. What is interesting now, just now, is this redirect URL. Okay, so this is a Procesio URL, and this is the one that you need inside the Google console. So you copy it, click here. Okay, go back to the Google console and add our URL. Okay, here, okay, you paste it, and then it's done for it's done for this part. Sorry. So here you see, when you have done that, Google will give you the client ID and the secret associated to it. So you can copy them and put them back into Procesio. So open Procesio again. Put your client ID you just copied, paste it here. Same thing for the secret, copy and paste here and paste. OK. Great. So now that you have that, it's done on the Google side. This is finished, and we have to finalize the configuration now in Procesio. So we go back to Procesio to have a look at what we need to input. So you see that you need scope, you need authorization URL, the access token URL, and the refresh token URL. So how it's going to work is that with the client ID and secret that you have, when Procesio will try to access the Google Task API, it will connect to the authorized URL, exchange this client ID, secret ID to be recognized by Google, and in exchange it will receive some token that will allow us to then connect to the Google Task API, okay, and to send some requests to this API. So let's start with the authorization URL. So this is a URL from Google to then ask him authorization and then to exchange the token. So I will put the link in the description, but there is a documentation page in developers.google.com that gives you this URL. So in this page, you click on step 1, set authorization parameters, and you will have the access of this OAuth endpoint. So you copy this URL, put it back here in Procesio, and for the token, same page, and you go to the step number 5, and you will have this token endpoint. Okay, so you copy it as well, and in Procesio you paste it in the token URL and also the refresh URL. You know, it's automatically done by Procesio, but maybe for some other services you have to update it manually, but for Google it is the same. So now that you have this URL set, you need to finalize the configuration by defining the scope of your API. So there is a very easy way to find the different scope for the Google API, is to go on the OAuth playground of Google. So I will also put the link in the description. This playground gives you the access to and to test all the Google API. So you start by step 1 and you look for the Google Task. So be careful, do not take Cloud Task, but Google Task. This one, V1, click on it. And here you see these are the scope that you can use. So here, for example, the first one gives you full access to your task. You can create, edit, organize, delete your task. And the second one is only a read-only task. So I will just go with the read-only for now. So I click here, see it's selected. And then I click to authorize API. You choose, so there is a consent page, and you choose your account, Google account, to accept the playground to access your data. You authorize it, and when you have this authorization code, you click on authorization code for token, and you have your token. Okay, so it's switched directly then to step 3. In the step 3, you can now make an API call to this Google Task API. So if you don't know what you put, it's very easy. You click at the list of possible operations, and you will see that there is different methods in this Google Task API. And for example, I will take this list task list, so it will return all my list of tasks. So I click on it, just a simple get request, you see, and then I can set it, and I got all my list of tasks here, as you can see. So I can show you, so I have list of my name and a demo list. So if I go to the Google Task, I have my list of my name and this demo list. So it is working. So that's fine. So now that we have this, we know the scope that we need to copy and paste in Procesio. So go back to here. I will copy the scope, this one, okay, copy and paste it to Procesio. Okay, so it's a URL. Great. Nothing else to do except, of course, to input the URL that we, the endpoint that we want, the API endpoint that we want to connect to send a request to. So let's go back to the playground again. Look at this. Okay, this API endpoint here. Copy it, put it back in Procesio. Paste. Okay. Okay, so then we can save and authorize to see if it's working. Okay, so you have to accept the consent. Okay, continue. Continue. And you see the access token has been retrieved successfully. So now if you test your connection, it will work. So we just made a few small changes here. Okay, I will remove this, get it, and paste it here in my test. Okay, you will see it will work the same. Of course, it returned my list. Okay, I save this credential, and now I can use it in my process. Okay, so I close this, and I will do a simple API call to test it, and we'll call the same methods to return my list of tasks. So we configure it. I will choose my Google Task API. The verb is going to be a get, as you see here in the playground. It's a get. Okay. Okay, we have the endpoint, and we will just copy and paste the end of it. I think it's this one. Copy and paste. Okay, so now it should work. Let's create our variables for the output. So we'll create JSON. Okay, create output JSON. Okay, and now it should work. Let's try. So we save it, we run it, and we check. It's a success. Let's look at the variables, and here I have my list of tasks. So it's working. So I hope it will help you, and let me know if you have any question.